Good morning, everybody. My name is Alanna Smith, and I serve as the Business Relations Specialist in the Northwest area of the state. Today's presentation is on effective partnerships with job coaches. Presenting alongside me today is my colleague, Megan. Would you like to introduce yourself and explain the accessibility features of today's webinar?
Sure. My name is Megan Naves, and I am the Career and Credential Consultant. I also serve in the Northwest and part of the Southwest area of the state. At OOD, we plan for accessibility from the start. For example, we use the accessibility checker that is built into Microsoft 365 to review the resource guide and PowerPoint. We address color contrast, font style and size, and add alternative text known as alt text to visual images. Also, in our delivery, we mention each other by name as the conversation goes back and forth to indicate who is speaking. This can be helpful when attendees are receiving this information through services like American Sign Language interpretation and live captioning. After the webinar, we edit the transcript and fix any captioning errors before uploading the webinar to our on-demand library. We also include a reasonable accommodation statement in our invitation to the webinar, so if attendees need an accommodation, they know who to contact to ask. Taking these steps up front can make this presentation more accessible and inclusive for everyone. Alanna, can you start us off with an overview of today's webinar and the learning objectives?
Sure. This webinar is an accompaniment to a previous webinar on job developers and job coaches in the workplace. In that webinar, we addressed the different roles of job coaches and job developers and how they can be instrumental in helping businesses create a diverse workforce and support their employees to be successful. For a refresher and a recording of that webinar, that can be found on the Information for Employers page of the OOD website, and a link is being provided in the chat for your reference. For today, we're going to explore the actions employers can consider to effectively utilize job coaching services in support of the hiring, retention, and advancement of candidates and employees with disabilities. Throughout this webinar, we will discuss the importance of creating an inclusive work environment, potential barriers that individuals with disabilities may face in the workplace, and strategies for addressing these barriers through job coaching services. We will also explore the role of job coaches in facilitating a successful transition into independent employment and provide guidance on effectively utilizing job coaches to support the employee development and advancement. The learning objectives for today's webinar are for attendees to recognize the benefits of utilizing job coaching services to support individuals with disabilities, learn more about best practices for collaborating with job coaches to enhance workplace learning, establish natural supports, and implementing teaching strategies that match the learning styles and needs of the employee with a disability. And lastly, we'll cover resources from OOD and more, which are available to assist employers in ongoing collaboration with job coaches. A special feature of today's webinar, we have guests from Designetics, an international manufacturing company located in Holland, Ohio, who will share more about their work setting and how job coaches were involved in assisting their employees. So whether you're a human resources professional, a supervisor, or a hiring manager, this webinar is designed to provide you with the best practices for effective partnerships with job coaches. So let's start with a poll about our topic today. And the poll is going to come up on your screen, and we want to know your response to the following question. What type of disability does an employee need to have to benefit from a job coach? Could it be A, mental health disability, B, hard of hearing or deaf, C, learning disability, D, physical disability, or E, any of the above? And I see those percentages coming in. You guys are moving quick. About half of the participants have responded so far. I'll wait a little bit longer to see if we can get any more of those responses in here. All right, well, it looks like most of you have selected E, any of the above, and you're right. Job coaches can support any disability at any point in the employment process. Job coaches work in partnership with employers to support the successful employment for individuals with disabilities with a wide variety of skills, experiences, and employment types. Megan, could you tell us more about job coaches?
I would love to, Alanna. The Job Accommodation Network, or JAN, defines a job coach as a professional who specializes in assisting individuals with disabilities in learning and accurately carrying out job duties. Job coaches provide one-on-one training tailored to the specific needs of the employee. A job coach plays an important role in helping employees, especially individuals with disabilities, to successfully adapt to the work environment and create strategies to organize and complete tasks. Job coaches are typically involved after the employee is hired and provide guidance and support to the employee in learning how to perform job duties effectively and safely. Job coaching is usually for a defined temporary period of time. Typically, the coaching frequency and duration will begin fading once the individual has been performing the job at the standard required by the employee for an agreed upon duration, adapted to their work environment, and natural supports at work have been established, which are something that people with and without disabilities have. Job coaches are not just a support for employees, they can also be a support for the business and their supervisors. Ensuring channels of communication are established with their supervisors and colleagues, reinforcing the employer's expectations and procedures, and identifying assistive technology to save time and money are just a few ways that job coaches partner with employers to create a work environment that is inclusive of people with disabilities. Alanna, would you like to share with our audience when and how a job coach can be utilized?
Absolutely. So the request for a job coach can arise at any point in the employment process. And as we just stated, a job coach can step in at the beginning of employment to help a new employee learn their job and how to perform the job duties accurately, effectively, and safely. A job coach can also help with job retention for incumbent workers with disabilities for a variety of situations. For example, a worker may be assigned to a new supervisor and needs a different communication strategy to improve interactions with the supervisor. Or perhaps the company has migrated to a new software system and the employee needs support in adapting to the new technology. A promotion into a new role or a change in job task can also be another scenario where the support of a job coach may be beneficial. An employer may become aware an employee needs support of a job coach by receiving a request from the employee. An advocate for the employee, or even a supervisor may recognize the need for a job coach support and bring it to the employer's attention. Now, if the employer identifies the potential need for a job coach, they can reach out to an OOD business relations specialist for resources. And we'll share more about that later in the webinar when we discuss resources. So even if an employer has worked with job coaches in the past, it's important to know that job coaching services may differ based on the individual person and their specific needs. Job coaching services may be in person or virtual and are not intended to be a permanent source of support. From the very beginning, the job coach is identifying a plan to help the employee with a disability transition to natural supports in the workplace. And now we have another question to ask our audience. So you can please select your answer when the poll appears on your screen. And that question is, at which point in the hiring process can a job coach be involved? Could it be A, hiring and onboarding, B, training, C, retention, or D, all of the above? All right, I see those responses pouring in. You guys are super quick. And I'll hold on just a little bit. Looks like almost everybody's answering. All right, so most of you selected D, all of the above. And you're right again, job coaches can be involved at any point in the employment process, including onboarding or training. Job coaches can also help with job retention for incumbent workers with disabilities to maintain a positive, to maintain a position with an employer. Now, Megan, would you share the many benefits to the employee and the employer of having involvement of a job coach?
Yes, absolutely. So we just learned more about what a job coach is and how they play a crucial role in ensuring the success of the employee. An employee receiving job coaching services benefits in many ways, and some of these include learning more about their role, strengthening or learning new skills, staying on task and organizing, developing the ability to recognize obstacles, advocating for assistance, improving interactions with peers or adapting to the work environment, becoming aware of policies or employer resources, and learning how to approach a situation. So let's discuss a real employment situation where a job coach can offer support. Meet Jerry. Jerry, who has autism, is hired by a local cafe as a dining room attendant. Jerry quickly learns their job functions: mopping floors, wiping tables, returning trays to the waste receptacle, and emptying the trash. However, when they complete all of these tasks, they aren't sure what to do next, so they just stand around, which frustrates their supervisor. A job coach is brought in to offer support. They came up with a flip chart of all the job tasks, including extra things Jerry can do when there's downtime, such as restocking the lid containers and replenishing cups and straws. Now Jerry can refer back to the flip chart when there's downtime, so they can always keep busy. This example highlights the benefits a job coach can offer by assisting the employee with learning more about their role and responsibilities and increasing their productivity. But it wasn't just the employee who benefited from having a job coach involved. The manager also learned an important communication strategy via the flip chart to improve interactions with Jerry. So we learned in the previous scenario that engaging with a job coach helped not only the employee, but the manager as well. Let's review some of the ways employers may benefit from having the involvement from a job coach. The job coach may come up with strategies to complete a task that leads to increased productivity. A job coach may also have great ideas for how to organize the workstation or suggest some innovative adaptive equipment or assistive technology solutions. Often, job coaches will conduct a comprehensive job analysis and develop a tailored plan specific to the employee's needs and the demands of the workplace. This can save the employer time and money in the long run and reduce the need for additional training. The main goal of job coaching is to support employee retention. Collaborating with a job coach to address performance barriers may be the right solution to keep an employee on the job. Not only does the employee receiving job coaching services feel supported, but other employees will recognize that their organization is committed to providing its employees what they need to be successful on the job. This may lead to increases in morale and can be a key step in creating a disability-inclusive workplace culture.
So at this point in today's webinar, we'd like to welcome our guest panelists, and we're happy to introduce Holly Duvall and Casey Clark from Designetics. Our panelists will be joining on camera here and sharing their valuable insights on what has worked well within their company, specifically their collaboration with job coaches involved in supporting employees with disabilities. Now, I'm happy to share a short bio for each of our panelists, and their full bio was included in the webinar announcement. So Holly Duvall has been with Designetics for more than 9 years and is dedicated to helping teams perform at their best by fostering strong collaborative relationships. She serves as Chief Human Resources Officer. And Casey Clark serves as a Human Resources Generalist at Designetics, and her role includes a wide array of functions such as hiring, training, onboarding employees, benefits, and compensation. Designetics is an international manufacturer of fluid dispensing systems, accessories, and polyethylene products. Designetics has an employee base of 75 and contracts with 60 different countries. Welcome, Holly and Casey, and thank you for joining us. So our first question is going to be for both Holly and Casey. So would you please share with our attendees how your company first began working with job coaches?
Well, one moment. We're gonna just address a quick technology issue here and make sure that we can get Holly and Casey appropriately spotlighted.
All right.
Casey, Holly, you should be set as presenters now, so you should have access to unmute and enable your camera.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank
Good morning.
you so much. Thanks for joining us. Yeah. So our first question is for both of you all, and that is, would you please share with our attendees how your company first began working with job coaches?
Yeah, so we heard about job coaches at first through the Lucas County Board of Developmental Disabilities. We're located right outside Toledo, Ohio. So we worked with them with an employee since 2015. He started, and he's been here ever since. They helped him to learn the job and train for it, and then he's been able to pick up more and more tasks over time. Even after we didn't work with a job coach anymore. And he's done just a wonderful job, and I don't know what Design X would be without him. So it was a really great experience.
Thank you. Okay, and then Casey, this question's for you. Would you please describe Designetics' experience with employees who have received or are receiving supports from a job coach?
Yeah. So typically our experience with job coaches starts in the interview process. The coaches have helped the candidates with scheduling the interview, arriving on time, and transportation. Once the candidate is hired, the job coach usually goes through orientation with the new employee and assists with onboarding and training. Our job coaches have helped employees with understanding documents, answering questions the employees might have, or interpreting the conversation if they're hard of hearing. Our overall experience has been great with the job coaches, and they've supported multiple of our employees to help them be successful to the point that they eventually don't or no longer need a job coach.
Great. Thank you so much for that. And then Holly, this next question is for you. Has your company experienced positive outcomes in supporting or retaining employees because of job coaching services?
Yes, we have. There have been some instances where maybe we wouldn't have been able to retain an employee without the job coach. So maybe an employee was struggling with their work tasks and just learning how to perform them, or maybe was assigned a new one that they needed additional training on. So the job coaches sometimes meet with the managers if the employee just hasn't been able to learn the task, and they have brainstormed different ways that are practical for the company to be able to do to support the employee, but also help the employee to learn that task. And then, or the employee might be having issues on more of a personal level. Like, for example, we have had one employee recently who was having some attendance issues. So his job coach met with him and also got his case manager involved to help support him too, to come up with some, alternative options for him to be able to make sure that he was at work on time.
Great. That's a great example. I know attendance is very important in the workplace, so thanks for sharing that. And then Holly, this question's also for you. So could you please share how the presence of job coaches benefited the workplace culture for all employees?
So when our employees see a coworker working with a job coach, they are supportive, and they just have learned that sometimes people need a little bit more help, and that's okay. And we've seen a lot of people jump in and try to think of ways that they can help support their coworkers too. One example is we have an employee right now who's hard of hearing, like Casey said, and we just talked about for company presentations to get a text talk to text tool that we can show on the screen during the presentation, so that not only can the employee have the option to view the text on the screen, but we've had other employees too say that sometimes during presentations, it's just a lot of information to take in, or maybe they're having a hard time hearing the presenter. So that will just help us be clearer with all employees during our presentations.
Right. It's a great benefit for all employees. And now I do have one last question for both of you, Casey and Holly. Do you have any advice for employers who may have concerns about working with a job coach to support an employee with a disability?
Yes. So the job coaches are they're great on the first day with all of our processes, making sure that they're checked in when they get into the building, signing our NDA. They are always introducing themselves to managers or anyone that they're needing to communicate with. And they make sure to work with our schedule, so we're not planning around the job coach necessarily. They are really working with us.
Right. And just to add a little bit more to that, if there's any policies that we ask employees to follow, the job coaches are great about following those also. So like we have policies where we can't have cell phones out on the floor. So when we've explained that to the job coaches, they've been great about following those too. Or we do have to wear safety glasses in some areas. So they abide by that also. They want the employee to be successful, so they aren't going to jeopardize that. And they've been really helpful with following those things.
Great. Thank you both so much for that information.
Okay, we have a few more topics to cover, and then we will invite Holly and Casey back for further insights. We do encourage attendees to drop any questions they may have in the chat, and we will be addressing those soon. Alanna, do you want to lead us into best practices for effective partnerships with job coaches?
I'd love to. So as we kick off this section about best practices, we want to reiterate the importance of communication between the employee and the employer, which helps to identify needs, set objectives, provide a means for feedback, and build trust. And a job coach can be a partner in supporting this process as well. So after the job coach is engaged, it's important for the employer to relay up-to-date information about the role, the essential functions, workplace culture, and more. And the more the job coach can be prepared, the better, so all parties can continue conversations. Now, ideally, the employer will share the job description, the policies, procedures, and requirements for the work setting. And the conversation could include unwritten rules and expectations, such as where to go for breaks, the dress code, or language used in the work setting. So openly discussing the needs and gaps identified during the interactive process can help the job coach to focus on areas that require improvement. Consider setting a time to conduct a tour of the workplace and engage with the job coach to share what the employee will encounter while at work. The job coach will be responsible for analyzing the employee's required tasks, materials needed, and the order the employer wants tasks completed. Include occasional tasks in addition to the regular or essential tasks the employee may be required to do. The job coach is there to describe or demonstrate each task or activity to the employee. And these details from the employer will assist the job coach in creating a plan that is both observable and measurable. And when the job coach reaches the point of setting objectives, assist in helping to shape the plan by prioritizing based on business need and agree on the prepared plan together along with a timeline. The value of collaborating and communicating as a team is important in any work setting, and it's especially important to foster open communication among the team when implementing a coaching plan for any employee with a disability. As a coaching plan is put into action, the job coach relies on the communication from the employer, the employee, as well as others such as coworkers and natural supports. The guidance of the employee receives from the job coach is also dependent on constant communication. If an issue arises or a clarification is needed, the job coach is responsible for supporting the employee in seeking out information from the employer. Employers can strive to demonstrate good faith in allowing open communication for their employee to express ideas they may have on what solutions would best address their needs. And it's important to keep in mind that each situation and solution is different, even among individuals with the same disability or employers with the same industry. Including the job coach in any communication will be helpful to ensure the employee and the employer receive the support they need in implementing a job coaching plan. By prioritizing communication and collaboration among the team, the employee can create a pathway towards a positive outcome. Establish and maintain a regular meeting schedule for updates. Use this opportunity to adjust or address further needs as necessary. So just as teaching methodology may include a combination of on-site, off-site, or virtual coaching, the meeting schedule for progress or updates can vary too. And virtual meetings can be equally effective to share information. Please also keep in mind to include a small group of individuals sensitive to the unique situation as a best practice. Share names and contact details for anyone who may be involved in the employee's training, including a direct supervisor or HR staff. A job coach is intended to be an unobtrusive and complement to an already established training schedule. To prevent misconceptions, ensure others view the job coach as a helpful resource rather than a replacement for the employee. Megan, let's discuss natural supports in the workplace.
Sure. Natural supports refer to assistance that can be provided informally from colleagues and may include tools or equipment to help individuals with disabilities navigate their work responsibilities or work setting more effectively. If we think back to our story about the new employee who didn't know what to do after completing a task, we can see how the job coach helped implement a natural support in the form of a flip chart listing all the tasks that could be completed to eliminate downtime. When navigating or learning in the workplace, having natural supports can make a difference. Natural supports also provide the employee with resources if the job coach is not available and serve as a continued teaching aid long after the job coaching fades out. Natural supports differ from formal training or structured support and play a role in the employee's success. They also help to foster a sense of inclusion. All employees with or without disabilities have natural supports, such as trusted coworkers or an employee assistant program. These supports can vary from person to person, and the job coach can help identify supports which can be customized and integrated into the employee's daily routine. Most employees experience frustrations in the workplace at times, but what if one obstacle was learning how to establish a to-do list or manage their time? For an employee with a disability, a natural support could help the employee learn how to be organized. The job coach can help the employee identify effective time management tools, such as an app on their phone or setting an alarm on their watch. This type of support helps the employee stay on task and be independent. Leverage natural supports such as people, procedures, customs, tools, and benefits that are available in the work setting, and schedule time to review progress and adjust supports as needed when the employee gains the necessary skills to continue in the role without the assistance of a job coach. It is important to recognize natural supports can be achieved in any work setting. The ADA National Network highlights the importance of natural supports in boosting an employee's overall job performance. By pinpointing natural supports within the organization, such as coworkers and supervisors, employees can decrease their reliance on job coaching and enhance their autonomy in the workplace. As we mentioned earlier, collaborating and communicating with the job coach and employee plays an important role in recognizing and establishing natural supports in the workplace. Through the collective effort, it not only addresses the employee's needs, but can also promote inclusivity and create a supportive environment for all employees. Alanna, I think now would be a great time to gather more insight from our guest panelist.
That's a great idea, Megan. So I guess with our first question, we could start with Casey. Casey, would you please share with our attendees how Designetics collaborated with the job coach and integrated a plan into the work setting? Oh, looks like you might be muted there.
Yes, we made sure we had a plan for open communication between the manager and the job coaches, to set up a plan of how often the job coaches should be there to assist the employee. So the job coaches make recommendations and schedules accordingly to what the employee needs. So they might meet with them daily and then taper off to every other day, or have weekly check-ins, and then eventually that they wouldn't need to meet with an employee at all.
So open communication has been very helpful. Thanks, Casey. Now, Holly, would you please describe how your company fostered open dialogue between others, such as supervisors or the management team, about the job coach being an extension of your existing training?
So we, HR always introduces the job coach to the supervisor at the very beginning of the employee's first day. So they establish that relationship with each other. And then our trainers usually train the job coach along with the employee together during the first few days, so that it's similar to how we would train any other employee. And it's not taking a lot of additional time. And we explain to the managers too that support is there for them, so that it's not taking a lot of additional time for the employee. And the job coaches do work really closely with us to continue that training if necessary. For example, we have one employee right now who is needing some extra support with learning a process. So we've been working closely with her job coach to come up with ideas of how we can offer additional tools for her that are feasible for us, but also helpful for her. Like she has a worksheet, an extra worksheet in front of her station that is just in clear view going over the process. And then we've given her a notebook to be able to write notes down for that task. So that's been very helpful too.
Well, thank you for that. Having that communication and involvement from the start. That sounds like that's the key there. So thanks, Holly. Okay, and Casey, this next one is for you. Job coaches often organize natural supports in a way specific for employees with disabilities to complete their task related to a role. So would you share an example of a natural support that was used, which ended up being a benefit for all employees?
Yes. So an example of a natural support that all employees now benefit from is our weekly text messages and company announcements. So we used to meet every week with the entire company, and that didn't work well for some employees. So we switched to sending out announcements through text message, including fun pictures, so that can be sent out and they can read it at any time, or maybe they couldn't hear us so that they can read it now. At times we do still have in-person company announcements, and when this happens, we sound an alarm to alert everyone that we are gathering, and it also has flashing lights. So if we do have employees that are hard of hearing, this allows everyone and them to see the lights instead of relying just on the alarm. Another example of a natural support is that we have a sign-up sheet for all the employees to talk to their manager or HR. So the sign-up sheet includes, or they can select who they would like to talk to and how urgent the conversation is. And that's worked really well for us.
Great. I bet those pictures are really helpful in those meetings. So I bet that's really fun. So I do have one last question for you, Casey. Are there examples of employees who have successfully transitioned from job coaching service to being able to identify those natural supports?
Yes, we do have a handful who have transitioned from having the services, and they're mostly independent now. So the job coaches help to foster that relationship between the employee with a disability and their managers and coworkers. So when the job coaches leave, the employee already has that bond with their manager, and it helps the job coaches or having that bond helps them, the employees open up and come out of their shell to feel comfortable. So another example of a natural support is our hourly alarms. So that we have an hourly alarm to complete quality inspections in production. So on the hour, every hour, an alarm, basically an alarm clock rings as a reminder for all the employees to get up and check a coworker's part. For our hard of hearing employee, we have given her a phone so that she can have a vibrating hourly reminder, and that has helped her. So if she's not able to hear the alarm. And another example is setting up checklists for tasks that employees need to complete throughout the day. So that helps that employee or the employees that need that to stay on task and serve as a reminder of what tasks to do next.
Thank you. Those are really great examples and really great helpful information. Thanks, Holly and Casey.
Okay, so Alanna, it looks like we don't have any questions submitted in the chat so far, but we did receive some pre-submitted questions that we can go ahead and answer now. I'll read them to you and you can go ahead and answer. Holly and Casey, feel free to add to any of our answers if you feel like you have any additional helpful information. The first question is there a standard training for job coaches?
Thanks, Megan. So training for job coaches is provided by the agency in which they are employed. It's important for that job coach to work closely with the employer at which they are providing the services to identify the unique workplace needs for the employee. That way they can best supplement the training provided by the employer.
Perfect, thank you. And then also as a note for any of our attendees, if you do have any questions for our guests, please put those in the chat now. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and review our pre-submitted questions. So Alanna, the next question is, who pays for the job coach?
Oh, that's a great question. So OOD can purchase on-the-job supports for an eligible participant if the service is needed to help them get or keep a job. And there are also other funding sources that, other than OOD, that could be able to help pay for a job coach.
Great. And then this next question states, does anyone involved with the employee receiving services have any background or knowledge that could be helpful for them to learn the job?
Well, individuals that are receiving services through OOD have taken part in a vocational rehabilitation assessment process, and that can inform the types of supports that could be helpful to support the individual in achieving their employment outcome.
Okay, thank you. And then do job coaches have insurance or do I have any liability?
Oh, that's another great question. Well, the job coach is an employee of the provider agency, and the providers that work with OOD participants are responsible for the safety of the individuals that they are serving, and they must hold the appropriate insurance for any safety issues that may occur. And providers must also have policies or procedures concerning the participant's safety.
This next question states, and Holly and Casey might have some additional tips for this one, but it states, what is the typical length of time a job coach is needed and how long should we expect them to be at our facility?
Okay, so the time frame, well, job coaching services vary in scope and duration based on the needs of the employee and the employer. Well, so coaching could last as little as a few days or could last several weeks or more, and it depends on the level and scope of the support that's needed. The job coach will work in collaboration with the employee and their supervisor to help determine the continued need for job coaching.
Perfect. Holly or Casey, if
Yeah.
you can still hear us. Oh, perfect, thanks.
Yeah, just to add to that, so we've had, it depends on each employee. We've had some employees where they need a job coach for about a year. Usually it's less than that. It's a couple months, a few months. So I don't know if Casey has anything else to add to that.
Some of our employees will have support daily for the first few months, and then they'll move to the weekly check-ins. And maybe they'll just do those weekly check-ins for an hour, and that would go until for a year. We have a different employee that so the job coach was recommending 2 or 3 weeks of being there every day. And then the employee was doing well and didn't need that much support, so they backed it down to only being there every day for a week.
Great, thank you. So it really is customized based on the employee and kind of their performance and how they're adjusting to those natural supports that are being established between the supervisor, the job coach, and the employee. Perfect, thank you. And then this question could be for anyone, but Alanna, they asked, how do I explain to other employees who the job coach is?
Who the job coach is? Yeah, well, that's a great question. So what you could do, is certainly a possibility that employees or other coworkers may ask about who the job coach is, and you certainly don't want to disclose any personal or confidential information. And because, doing so, you definitely don't want to use the phrase accommodation or reasonable accommodation. That could let that individual know that they have a disability. So you could consider working with your HR or your legal team to create a response that recognizes that employee's concern while explaining how you're not able to discuss the individual's circumstances regarding another employee. But Haley or Casey, how do you guys typically handle if maybe another employee asks about why that person has a job developer or a job coach? I'm sorry.
I don't think I have gotten that question. So I think because we've worked with job coaches for so long that our other employees just know that that person needs extra support, and they are very accepting of that, and they really don't ask questions.
Okay, yeah, so that's great. So keeping that communication from the beginning, introducing them to your staff, introducing them to the other employees so that they have an understanding of, this person will be here assisting, helping out. So that's great. Thank you so much for that.
Yes, thank you both. All right, thank you everyone for those pre-submitted questions. Alanna, can you tell us other ideas where a job coach can help?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd like to expand on what we mentioned earlier of when an employer may be introduced to a job coach. There's one scenario that comes to mind, and it's during the interview process. An employer may have a message out to a prospective employee, but they receive a call back from the job coach, and they're wanting to set up an interview on behalf of a candidate. The job coach may also request to attend the interview with the candidate. So Megan, what about engaging job coaches to support onboarding, training, and retention?
Yeah, Alanna, I have a quick story to illustrate engagement with a job coach during onboarding and training. This story is about a job seeker named Robert. Robert receives an offer letter from an employer for a new position in their manufacturing facility. The offer letter contains shift information, salary, and benefits. The letter also includes a reasonable accommodation statement with contact information to make a request if needed. Robert has a learning disability and struggles with comprehension. In previous jobs, a job coach has helped him with reading training materials and completing online learning modules. Robert feels the support of a job coach during onboarding and training will help to set him up for success in his new role. So he calls the contact number provided in the statement and includes his job coach on the call. Together with the employer, they discuss the support the job coach can provide to ensure successful onboarding. They also discuss the necessary paperwork like a background check and non-disclosure agreement that allows the job coach on site for Robert's first day of employment, and then a start date is then confirmed. Robert starts his new job with the support of a job coach and successfully completes orientation and training. And so while many employees may receive support from job coaches at the start of the employment process, job coaches may also provide services for incumbent employees who experience an onset of a disability. This could affect their ability to do the job in the same way they had before, and they are experiencing new barriers to retaining employment. An example of this could be an employee of 20 years who experiences hearing loss and is unable to hear some of the auditory alarms in the manufacturing plant. The alarms serve as a natural cue when it's time to pick up new parts from the next station. To accommodate this employee, the employer installs a flashing light above his workspace to serve as a visual reminder, but the employee needs additional support in adapting to this new process. A job coach can support the employee and his supervisor in identifying goals and offering reminders to ensure he effectively uses the new process. The job coach can observe the employee and work with his supervisor to make sure he performs to the company's standards and expectations. So, Alanna, now that we've reviewed job coaches can be involved at any point in the employment process, would you like to share some additional resources employers can utilize when working with job coaches?
Yes, so as employers strive to build inclusive workplaces, understanding the resources available to support successful collaboration with the job coaches is essential. And one valuable online resource for employers mentioned throughout this webinar today is the Job Accommodation Network, and they're also known as JAN. Employers can utilize this website to explore their comprehensive information on job coaching in the workplace, along with real-life examples on suggested accommodations for specific disabilities. Another resource to consider is the Employer Assistance and Resource Network, also known as EARN. And EARN offers a wealth of information tailored to employers looking to create workplaces that are inclusive of people with disabilities. Employers can gain a deeper understanding of how job coaching aligns with their organizational goals. And OOD's business relations team can also provide support by offering a wide range of services and resources that promote a diverse and inclusive work environment. And that brings us to the end of today's webinar. Megan, what closing thoughts do you have?
Thank you, Alanna. A key takeaway from today is that providing job coaching as a workplace accommodation offers a variety of benefits for both the business and its employees. We explored the actions employers can consider to effectively utilize job coaching services in support of the hiring, retention, and advancement of candidates and employees with disabilities. We shared that through effective partnerships with job coaches, employers can remove potential barriers that individuals with disabilities may face in the workplace and create an inclusive work environment for all employees. Many thanks to our guest speakers from Designetics for sharing the ways in which their organization has effectively partnered with job coaches to support their employees with disabilities.